Hi, everyone. My name is Manuel Morán. I'm the founder and director of Teatro SEA, the Society of the Educational Arts. And I want to say buenas noches, good evening to all of you. We're so excited because tonight we're going to have a conversation with Lindsay Wittwer from Center for Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College, part of the City University of New York. And we are very excited that to have this conversation about Pura Belpré's puppet. February is we celebrate here in the United States African American or Black History Month, and in Teatro SEA we have decided to join the celebration and highlight the work of Pura Belpré, an Afro-Puerto Rican amazing woman. She's a hero to all of us, especially here in New York, but also in all the United States and Puerto Rico. She was the first Puerto Rican Latino librarian in the New York Public Libraries system. She was probably the first recorded professional puppeteer in the history of puppetry, of the recorded puppetry. We'll talk a little bit about that. She was a storyteller. She's one of the first, if not the first, writer that published bilingual books for children. And we're talking about in the 1920s, the 1930s. So there's a lot to learn about Pura. We're so proud of her work. We are proud and following her, continuing spreading her legacy through the work we do. But let's bring Lindsay. Lindsay, are you there?
Yes,
Lindsay,
hi.
Hi, Lindsay. Welcome, and thank you for agreeing to do this with us and with our audiences. I want to say that Lindsay is the digital archivist at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies at Hunter College. We call it Centro, and many people in the community know it as Centro. She holds a Master's of Arts in Public History and Archival Management from NYU. So welcome, Lindsay. Tell us a little bit about you and your time at Centro.
Sure. Thank you so much for having us, and by extension, having Centro to join you for this. We love Pura at Centro.
Yes.
So as the digital archivist, I handle our digitization program, where we digitize our physical collections to make them more accessible online. That's been incredibly critical right now during this pandemic, when we are not open to the public. And we have about 20,000 digital objects available in our digital collections portal, which is available on Centro's website. And that covers 176 different collections, from images to documents. We have about 700 oral history interviews, including some with Pura. So it's a pretty lot of work to maintain our digital collections and make them accessible. I also manage our born digital material. So if we have donors who give us, floppy disks or CDs or hard drives or even their entire computer, I make sure that we're doing preservation to ensure that those are accessible for as long as possible. And I also oversee our audiovisual collections as well, since access is really only available now through the digital.
That's right. So Centro is such an important institution for the community here in, Puerto Rican community in the diaspora, but also as a resource for academics, for everyone from, schools. Tell us a little bit more about Centro, because Centro is not only a place to, for these collections, it's also it's a library. You guys do a lot of events. I mean, we do a lot of events together. We have been partnering with Centro for many, many years. So tell us a little bit more about Centro and the work that they do.
Sure. So Centro's mission is twofold. The first part is to collect, preserve, and facilitate access to the history and records of the Puerto Rican diaspora and the community in the diaspora. And the second part of our mission is to conduct, facilitate, and promote interdisciplinary research on Puerto Rican studies, on the Puerto Rican diaspora and its connections. So in addition to having a library and archives, which serves the public, institution that is open fully to the public. So during the time when we're, back to more normal times and we're open, anybody from the community is more than welcome to come in and look at our library collection, look at our archival collection. We really welcome anyone and everyone. In addition, as you mentioned, we have researchers who come in as research associates for a few years to do intensive research in their areas of study, and make use of our library and archives, our connection to scholars and different community members to really facilitate and disseminate their own research. We also have numerous events throughout the semesters, throughout the year, working with communities, schools. We have a media team that produces a television show that's won several awards called Central Voices, which is on Access Television in New York. And I know that it also plays through public television in Puerto Rico as
That's
well.
right.
So it's on our website, so you can get all the episodes there.
Yes.
And we produce a journal, the Central Journal, which is a scholarly peer-reviewed journal, putting out scholarly research at a very high caliber to really promote the work of scholars doing work in Puerto Rican studies and related studies. And we also do work to help teach about Puerto Rican studies, specifically the diaspora. We have a cultural ambassadors program that is open to anyone. There's different levels for younger children all the way up through adults to learn more about their history and culture. The cultural ambassadors, the people who run the program always joke that it's more than just the food, and they want to really give people an opportunity to learn in depth about Puerto Rican history, especially the diaspora.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, Centro, like I said before, is an essential institution. And tell us where it's located, because it used to be in the main campus on 67, 68, and Lexington. But now you guys, years ago, like few years ago, it was moved to El Barrio, no?
Yes, so the main campus of Hunter College still houses most of Centro. So research associates, any of the media team, any administration is still on the main campus, but the library and archives is up at 119th and 3rd Ave in the Hunter School of Social Work. So we're right in the heart of El Barrio, which is really wonderful to be so connected to the community and be so close by to so many amazing locations. I know that just when I'm commuting to work, I walk through so many areas that we have documented in our archives and photos, and it's just so amazing to be part of that community while also serving the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. I being related to Centro since I got here, I mean, it was like they have been essential for us in Teatro SEA to develop the work that we have done. And I should tell our audiences the kind of work that we do. When I got here to New York to go to school many years ago, to get my graduate studies, my master's and my PhD later on at NYU, I started researching the community. I knew a little bit about the diaspora, but since I was born in the island in Puerto Rico, and I had some family here, but I wasn't really immersed in the community like I have been now for many, many years. When I started doing theater in schools and doing storytelling and doing residencies, one teacher or principal from a school, she said, you are the new Pura Belpré. And I'm like, Pura Belpré? Who's Pura Belpré? Unfortunately, that's, at that time, we didn't know a lot about Pura in Puerto Rico. To tell you the truth, I was involved in theater since I was in my youth years, and I didn't know about Pura. Maybe in some places they knew about her, but like the general audiences, they didn't know too much about her. And I decided to start finding out a lot more. And then that's when I discovered Centro. That's when I discovered the collection of Pura Belpré. Can you tell us a little bit about the collection of Pura Belpré and what other collections do you guys have there as well?
Sure. So we have over 300 collections, and really one of the crown jewels of our archive is the Pura Belpré collection. It's one of the oldest collections that we have. We received it in the early 1990s.
I'm losing you.
Actually established in 1989. Centro was established in 1990. A little time before we started collecting archival material.
Lindsay,
Pura's
I'm sorry to
collection
interrupt.
is really amazing.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think I lost you a little bit. I lost the audio. I'm not sure if the audiences are, lost the audio as well. Can you repeat the last thing that you just said? Oh,
Can you hear me? I apologize.
no. This is
Am I
live.
back?
We're using our, laptops and this is our new reality. Yeah, now I can hear you better, but it was in and out. So can you tell us a little bit more? Can you repeat what you just said? Oh no, I lost you. I am not sure if it's me or if
Am I
it's
back?
you. I hear you now. Yes. Let me just put it on my phone to make sure that, yes. Yes, I can hear you and the people can hear you. So keep going. Keep going.
Okay. Sure. So
Sorry about that.
So Pura's collection covers the late 19th century through the late 1970s, and her collection has so much material. A lot of her writings. We have numerous drafts of a lot of the folk tales that she wrote down, translations that she did, pieces of illustration from her work, from the original copies. There's Pura with her famed puppets, Perez and Martina.
Yes.
And she was really involved. So she was a librarian, and then she later on, after her husband passed, came back and did work as a librarian, and she got really involved in really promoting the Spanish language collections and bilingual collections, and really working in whatever location within the New York Public Library that had large populations of Puerto Rican and Spanish-speaking children. So previously, there was an invitation to an event, and here she is with numerous children telling her stories. And the collection, I mean, I think really the best part, the puppets that we have. We have about 7 of her puppets, and then a small collection of marionettes. And she made these herself. They're really amazing. They're very fragile. We can talk about those in a little bit, but the collection has a wide amount of correspondence. It really covers the work she did at NYPL, and really documents her life as a literary figure. And she's writing to different, numerous different people, to family members, talking about her experience. And I think it's a really unique look at a woman who I think was such a pioneer in so many ways. She's publishing in like the 1940s as a woman, and doing these really amazing bilingual folk tales for children, and just, the area that she's covering and the documentation we have through her collection makes it very, very rich. In addition to her collection, we have the Lillian Lopez collection, which I mentioned because she was also a Puerto Rican librarian in the New York Public Library system, and really a protege of Pura's. And her collection very much supports and really is a very closely related collection. Kind of growing out of these collections, we have a very strong strength of our collection is our bilingual education and education collections. We have numerous collections from the various nonprofit organizations and individuals who are involved in really pushes for bilingual education in schools in New York City, for providing outlets and safe spaces for Puerto Rican children to grow as artists, as writers, as students and scholars. So I think really spreading from that, and it really represents so much of New York City, and the mid 20th century is really the strength of our collection.
I think I lost you again, but I got to hear all this amazing information. I'm not sure if I'm interrupting you, but I want to talk a little bit about what we do in Teatro Sea. since I started learning about Pura and her amazing story, being the first, Puerto Rican librarian, the first woman Afro-Latina and Latina who published, children's books. Her first book was in 1932. In 1932, this is really amazing. She was a pioneer, and that was Perez and Martina doing bilingual books, being a puppeteer. So I decided to start immersing myself into the collection, into her story, and we created something that is called the Pura Belpré project, with the endorsement and the blessing of Centro. And it's many different things. It's one thing was obviously a theater show. We're a theater company, so we have brought Pura back, and that's Sue, one of our actresses in the company, and we brought three of her stories to life with puppets. And actually we have 2 puppets here from the show as well. And these actually are copies. These are not the puppets that we use in the show. These are copies from the show, because the Smithsonian is putting together an exhibition. They're going to have a Latino alley in the Smithsonian. I think it's for 2022, for next year, and they have requested our puppets, for the exhibition. And since we do the show so much, even now, even though we're doing many things or everything online, we keep doing Pura Belpré for schools, for communities, for the general audiences. And so these puppets were designed by Jose Lopez, who was our former puppet master. He actually designed them in 3D. Very different from Pura's. It's a different technology. So the heads are are printed in a 3D printer, and the original puppets were painted by Jose, our former puppet master from Puerto Rico. But these were painted by Keith Sari, which is another puppeteer and another artist in Teatro Sea here in New York. And the costumes were made by a costume designer, Ingrid Hamster Harris. She's actually from Holland, but she lives in Canada. So we got Puerto Rico, we got United States, we got Holland and Canada in these puppets. And I just got them, actually, these copies, like a week ago, and I say perfect. Even though they're not going to be needed until 2022, I said, let's just premiere them tonight. And they're exactly like the puppets that we use in our show. It's our own version. Obviously, I've seen the puppets of Pura. One of the things that we have done as part of the Pura Belpré project is that we have produced 3 documentaries. They're called Títeres en el Caribe Hispano. Each episode of those documents is a 3-episode documentary, and each episode is dedicated to the history of puppetry of one Hispanic Caribbean country. So the episode 1 is about Cuban puppetry, the episode 2 is about Dominican Republic puppetry, and the episode 3 is about Puerto Rico. And of course, I had to start with the story of Pura Belpré, because for me, as a Puerto Rican scholar in puppetry and also a practitioner, I have discovered that probably she's the first Puerto Rican puppeteer recorded in history. And so we have a little clip of the documentary we wanted to share with our audiences. So let's just watch it, and we'll keep talking about Pura.
Lo primero que yo consigo como investigador del teatro de títeres en Puerto Rico fue una puertorriqueña en los Estados Unidos. Pura Belpré fue la primera bibliotecaria puertorriqueña, y no solo puertorriqueña, latina en los Estados Unidos, en el sistema de bibliotecas públicas de Nueva York. ella no solo escribía cuentos, fue de las primeras, si no la primera que publicó cuentos para niños bilingües. Aquí estamos hablando de los años 20, los años 30, y también representaba los cuentos, que la mayoría de los cuentos eran puertorriqueños, los representaba con títeres de guante. Entonces yo sí creo que Pura Belpré es la primera titiritera puertorriqueña, aunque haya sido en la diáspora, que históricamente esté documentado.
I always say that Pereza Martina has been my golden key. It's been opening doors for me. Well, you say, well, you did the puppets. You created the puppets. I said, that's right. But through what I heard, I've been telling this story for such a long time, that it became very alive. But no, that's it, alive. That is the word for Pereza Martina. It will never die.
So that's a little clip from Títeres en el Caribe Hispano, episode 3, Puerto Rico, and part of my mission to continue keeping alive the legacy of Pura and of course the story of Pereza Martina, which is a story so well known in the Caribbean, especially in Puerto Rico and in Cuba. It's a very famous story. So just to finish a little bit about the Pura Belpré project, not only we have the show, we have the documentary, we have done an exhibition also about her as well in the Clemente, our home, which is the Clemente Soto Vélez Cultural Center on the Lower East Side, where Teatro CA is located. But also now we're going to be publishing 2 books. One of I failed to say that we also do Martina the Little Roach, La Cucarachita Martina as a musical with puppets. So that's also part of this whole story. It's one of our main stage productions. We also have Juan Bobo Tales, which is also based on her retelling of Juan Bobo. And of course, we're big on the celebration of 3 Kings on January 6th, which was also one of the main things that she celebrated in El Barrio, in the libraries. She actually wrote a story also about the 3 Kings, which we also represent. So 2 books are coming out soon. We're publishing them. One of them is obviously the story of Martina, but our version of the show. We also publishing Juan Bobo's Tales, and we're actually publishing the script of the show, the Pura Belpré project, as well, with beautiful illustrations by a Cuban illustrator, Abdel de la Campa. So all those things are coming up, and of course, celebrating Black History Month, celebrating Pura. That's what we've been doing for the past month of February, for this month, since her birthday is on February 2nd. So we decided to celebrate the Black History Month with her stories, doing storytelling with for our kids and for everybody. So that has been happening during the whole month of February. So now I am very interested to talk about the puppets of Pura, because these puppets are very, very old. They're obviously historic. For me, they're like a treasure, that we need to preserve, that we need to, and I'm so thankful to Centro that you guys got them. I was able to hold them in my hands, and I was like, this is history. This is very valuable. But, I saw them years ago when I was filming the documentary, and they were very, very fragile. But then I've been in conversations with you, Lindsay, and you were telling me that there's a possibility that the puppets will be restored. And with friends of ours, actually, the Center for Puppetry Arts, which is the biggest and the most important puppetry center in the United States, are located in Atlanta. The center was founded by Vincent Anthony, which is for me like a mentor. It's a friend, somebody that I admire a lot. And they have a museum, an amazing museum. Not only they have theaters, but they have what is called a puppetry center, which they have a museum and a huge collection, not only of world puppetry, but also the main collection of the Muppets as well there. So if you go to Atlanta, whenever they're open, I think they are still open with some restrictions. Don't forget to visit the Center for Puppetry Arts. But because they specialize in like on puppetry, they tell me a little bit about what happened, because I am so it was so interesting to hear that they are willing to help Centro restore the puppets of Pura.
Sure. So I have to say the puppets are always in really high demand. People want to see them. Numerous different institutions have reached out to us over the years, recently in particular, to try to get them for their exhibits. And unfortunately, as you said, they're really old. They're really delicate. I mean, she handcrafted these puppets. They're amazing, but they're not, they're like 70 years old.
Yeah.
The fabric is very delicate. The heads are very heavy compared to the rest of the body because they were made from paper mache, and there's some wire in there, and I'm sure some other stuff to make them in the different shapes. And they're beautiful puppets, but very, very delicate. And so we've just been very hesitant to really loan them out because of how fragile they are. And because we're just not really sure, like this one that's up right now is like falling apart, really. The beak is really falling apart.
That's the rooster, no?
Yeah, it's the rooster. And the rest of his outfit is doing well, but yeah, his head is a little not in the best shape. So we generally will bring these out for very special occasions, very rarely. We completely understand how excited people are about them. So kind of out of nowhere, we were approached by a curator who has a show coming up in November 2021 at the Center for Puppetry Arts, Paulette Richards. And she mentioned that they had some money to do some restoration, because normally we're just like, we can't, we'd love to, but we can't. But when she mentioned that, we were like, we are on board. Absolutely. It feels so great to be working with such a esteemed institution that really knows what they're doing. I think that's the hardest part of being part of an archive, is that we're not as knowledgeable about the artifacts. So we've really just been trying to keep them housed safely. That's stuff we know how to do. But in terms of restoration, that really requires very specific experts. So what we've done so far is really reached out to you and to everyone who kind of knows about these puppets, experts who have handled them, and tried to get a sense of, what's their construction, what's their condition, what did you observe? I was very lucky, just timing wise, that right before we had to move to remote work last March, we had them out for a patron, and I re-photographed them so that we had nice newer photographs, so I could kind of get a sense of what they were like. And that really gave me a lot of insight when I was working with the conservator. So right now, we're kind of waiting to send them down to Atlanta. It's going to be the Perez and Martina puppets that are going to get restored right now, but we're hoping that if this is a successful partnership, that we could work with them or get some additional funding to help restore the rest of them. We would really love to be able to allow these institutions to showcase the original puppets if it's possible. And we'll just, I think, sleep a lot better knowing that they're preserved, that they're housed really well, that all the steps can be taken to make sure that these puppets can continue to live and be a real living document of Porto's work.
And I believe that as soon as they are restored, which I'm very excited, I'm actually collaborating with other institutions, about like I said before, with the Ballard Museum in Connecticut, with the Smithsonian. Now we're also collaborating with the Museum of the City of New York as well. So I know, and obviously with Museo del Barrio, we have had many collaborations in the past. I know that many institutions will be very interested in bringing Perez and Martina to their exhibitions, and maybe when they are restored, maybe then we can actually probably look at them and create copies, like what we did. I mean, this is our own version but our own version based on the photos, but now seeing the real ones being restored, and it would be easier for us. Maybe that could be a project that we can work together with Centro, Teatro Sea and Centro to create copies, and maybe the copies could be the ones that are being in some exhibitions. So we have to take care of this treasure somehow. So I am so excited, Lindsay, to have met you, and also to learn about the work that you are doing specifically, and about this possible collaboration with Center for Puppetry Arts. We want to let people know that puppetry is one of our biggest passions in Teatro Sea, and of course preserving the legacy of our heroes like Pura Belpré is also part of our mission and part of our passion as well. So we're going to continue doing whatever we can to keep spreading her love, her legacy, her stories. We pray that someone will reprint the books someday. It will be fantastic. The books are out of print, and she published like 13 books, and I think that there's such. I've seen them all, but they are out of print right now, and it would be amazing if there's a project to reprint, to bring some of the books, at least the original one. We do want to tell people that Centro is committed to continue, celebrating Pura Belpré, and next week on March 2nd, it's going to be a big premiere of a movie, a short film called Cucarachita Martina's Musical Adventure. It's an animated film. It's a short film. I had the pleasure of seeing it already. And Teatro Sea is co-sponsoring the event as well. And it's going to be happening actually March 2nd, and it's going to be at 6 o'clock. And you have to register to be able to watch it. And so you can go to Centro Puerto Rico, centropr.hunter.cuny.edu. It's right there. It's kind of long, but that's you'll find all the information about this premiere. We're going to be there with you guys as well. Very excited, because this is another way of keep spreading and her history and celebrating Pura that we've been trying to do in Teatro Sea. We've been doing for many years, and of course Centro has been doing for so many years. So last words, Lindsay, do you have something else that you want to share with us?
Well, I would just say, as I'm a mother of a toddler, and getting to read my son bilingual books. We have a couple of staff members at Centro who are children's writers, and they've given me books and shared books, and it just really feels like it brings Pura Belpré alive in my home. I mean, as a librarian, she feels very close to my heart, and seeing these folklores out in the world as we encounter them with a small child is really something that I value seeing. And I'm so happy that at Centro we have this amazing collection, that we have all these wonderful partners, including you guys, to help promote her story and her legacy, and continue telling her stories. So thank you so much for having me.
We're very, very happy that you have agreed to do this, and we'll continue with our mission to keep sharing her stories and keeping Pura Belpré legacy alive. So thank you again, and thank you to Centro. Please send my regards to Edwin and everybody over there. And to all of you, our audiences, thank you for joining us in this celebration. Please stay tuned. We're closed still. The theater's still closed. We don't know yet when we are going to be able to open, but we are putting together. We're hopeful that by the summer, we could be doing, if it not everything indoors, but maybe a combination of outdoor programming with indoor programming as well. So stay tuned. Go to our webpage at teatrosea.org for more information. And also join us in our social media pages, Teatro Sea NYC or Teatro Sea on Instagram. And so you can find out more information about all the things that we're going to be doing. Starting late April, May, June, the summer, we're going to be back to the streets. We're going back to the origins of theater. We're not going to stop doing theater, and because our communities need it, because our kids need to hear about their heroes and the Latino stories. So that's going to be happening starting when the weather starts changing, probably at the end of April, beginning of May. So stay tuned. Go to our webpage, teatrosea.org, for more information. And again, thank you, Lindsay, for being with us. And thank you to all of you. So, buenas noches. Gracias.